Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil. And this video was kind of sparked by some of the roster reviews I was doing the other night, and it's about General Skywalker. I had a couple of players who were asking for advice. They were saying, I'm really thinking of going for General Skywalker. And honestly, I had a lot of trouble encouraging them to do that. And in fact, I think I talked everybody out of going for General Skywalker at the current time. And it's not because I don't like General Skywalker. It's that there's two major problems with him, and I think that a lot of players go about farming him, gearing him, and his requirements the wrong way. So I'm going to show you guys what I would recommend doing, and this is kind of not explicitly stated in my farming guide, and I really should have done it. So this is my correction to General Skywalker and the farming. So before we get into the video, I do want to give a huge shout out to my channel members. Thank you guys so much for your continued support of this channel. If you guys want to join the channel membership, link in the description down below. Otherwise, you can support this channel for free by smashing that subscribe button, leaving likes, leaving comments. I should have done the thumbs up for likes, but whatever, leave your comments. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Let's get into the game here. Let's look at General Skywalker. So there's three real phases of General Skywalker, right? So the first phase here is the fleet battle. Then you have phase 2 here. Then phase 3 is this you borrow General Skywalker, which is fine, right? And then you have the final phase here, right, with, Asajj and Separatist droids. So you need to build each one of those things. So, of course, CG having to advertise packs here. So when we go to the first thing, right, for fleets, it's not hard. It's 40k minimum power. And just to show you how easy that is, my Plo Koon here is gear 10. This is a gear 10 Plo Koon, which he's a very easy character to gear. Gear 10 Plo Koon is a 41,000 power ship with, abilities. Not hard to get here to 40k. And let's say that you're like, oh, I don't have the ability materials to do that. I mean, fine. The rest of these characters, like you look at the Y-Wing, a maxed out Y-Wing is 45k. I mean, the Negotiator, you're going to have these characters that should have them at higher gear levels just because they're good, right? So between Anakin, the Fives, Rex, Ahsoka, these characters here, these would be the ones I'm focusing on to 40k. So these are the ships. Not hard to do. And I would 1000% tell you that in the past, a lot of players have kind of rushed General Skywalker, and they would use instead of using Negotiator, they would use Mace Windu's ship. That's a huge mistake. I would not do that. I would just wait around and get your Negotiator. And you guys will see why I say you want to wait and do that. One, Negotiator is a far better ship, and with the amount of capital ships that are in the game now, it's not worth your time to put resources into Endurance for this event when you can just wait around and get Negotiator. So, I want to get that out of the way now. But let's go to the squads first. So, with General Skywalker himself, you need to minimum get him to Relic 5, and ideally he should be Relic 7. So, just understand that going in. Relic 5 minimum, but ideally Relic 7. He's a Relic 8 requirement for Lord Vader, but I had him at Relic 7. As soon as I got him unlocked, got him able to Relics, I Relic 7'd him. He's really worth that. But the problem here, the first problem is the Get 1 problem. It's 70,000 Get 1 to take both Malak and General Skywalker, to take each Malak and General Skywalker to 7-star from where you unlock them at. That's a lot of Get 1. And you think you've got to split your Get 1 between, Hermit Yoda, Wampa. I mean, there's other ways, but you're thinking of your Get 1 characters. There's a lot you need to do there. And that's not even counting buying gear, right? Which, Get 1 can be really useful for. So Get 1 is a huge problem. The two ways I've seen players normally go through the General Skywalker is you hoard the 70,000 currency, you get him 5-star, and you spend about a week-ish, just waiting for the stores to refresh to give you the shards that you need. The other side of that is you get him 5-star, and then you spend the next couple of months buying shards when you can. I personally was a fan of hoarding that currency because he's so well worth it that getting him to relic levels just makes him better. But again, that's your decision to make there. But the second problem, as I'm going to show you guys, you're going to end up gearing, just from a gearing perspective, not relics, right? I want to make that very well known. But from a gear perspective, he's close to Galactic Legend level requirements, which is crazy. But you guys will see, you think you have to build that whole fleet, right? But there's a couple other things that you need to take into consideration. So let's go here. So here's your phase 2, right? Your phase 2, right? The ground game. You need Padme, Shakti, C-3PO, General Kenobi, and Ahsoka Tano. Now, you do not need them at these relic levels. I did this. I think Padme was like relic 3, Kenobi relic 4, and Ahsoka like relic 2. And then Shock and C-3PO were like gear 11 or 12, right? There wasn't a lot on them. Now, we got through it. I remodded the roster, made sure I had the right turn order and all that stuff. What I'd say is that you could do this with gear 12s, but you need to have the turn order right, you need to have the mods right, and you're going to wait around for RNG. You 1000% will. I could brute force my way through this event with these relic levels here. Now, these are all at Galactic Legend level requirements for the first 4 characters there, with Baby Tano here at relic 6 as part of the Jedi Master Kenobi team. So, take those with a grain of salt that that's not what I did this event with, and that I've seen it done with gear 12s. You just really need to have that RNG and strategy down pat. So, take that, right? But you also need Jedi Knight Anakin's ship. And Jedi Knight Anakin is well worth the relic levels because of how good he is with Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron in GAC. And then outside of GAC, he goes amazing with Padme. So you're going to end up investing in 6 characters right off the bat here just because of what you need, right? Because you need Anakin's ship for the event. So he's got to at least be gear 10 and really should be at relics, right? So there's, 6 characters right there. Then, and that will give you General Kenobi as your negotiator pilot and the fleet commander, and then Ahsoka, you can have her ship as well with Jedi Knight Anakin. But then you also need, you got to think here, right? Before you get to the Separatist part of this, you need the 501st, because when you unlock General Skywalker, who's he designed for? The 501st, right? That's where you want to use him. He doesn't really offer that much with the Padme team. He's good with Jedi, but you're like, you can get 2 teams out of that, right? You don't need him with your Jedi. You want him with the 501st. And they ideally want to be relic 5, but at minimum, you should have him at relic 3. And it sounds like I'm asking a lot. And that's why I don't recommend building these characters all at once. I think it's a lot smarter that, like, build your Padme team, right? Build your stuff up, get through the fleet mission, get through this ground mission, and then build those 501st characters to use under Shock T lead. That's why I recommend building these guys. Now, you're going to have a Shock T 501st team. You're going to have a Padme team. You'll have some characters to use there. And it's going to prepare you for, the 501st to kind of be under General Skywalker. It's going to delay you getting General Skywalker, but I think it's going to be worth it because of how much use you can get out of Shock T and these clones through so many different things. I mean, that's going to get you the Kaidi Mundi mission if your guild is doing light side Geonosis. They're solid in Conquest and Territory Wars, GAC. Like, they have a lot of really good uses. So I would build them. And this is where I would kind of say, like, you build this Padme team first. Maybe go build a Galactic Legend or go build something else. And then you finish that, work on the 501st here. Like, I think this is something that I don't recommend going one into the other. Because as good as these things are, I'm more envisioning you building your roster and then working on these as side projects along the way, rather than taking the time out to do all of these things all at once, because you'll get burnout doing that. So I'd get these guys. Then you need to worry about General Grievous at some point. And you think General Grievous is a requirement, and you'd be 1000% correct. But all of his friends are required for this. And so you're going to have these 4 Separatist droids with no good leader to use there. So you need to build General Grievous. He's kind of this, like, I used to call him like the optional mandatory character. Like in my farming guide, I think I even call him that, right? It's optional mandatory, right? General Grievous and the 501st. They're somewhere down here. Like in the farming guide, as you guys will see, yeah, optional mandatory. That in between phase 2 and phase 4, you're building these characters. And I 1000% think that's the case. I just don't think it's wise of me to tell you to build this team, build this right in a row, unless you're planning to just do like gear 12s. If you're planning to throw relics on there, I don't know that that's the wisest decision, because they are good, but I think you would end up setting yourself back in Galactic Legend terms, right? That's just my opinion. Again, I'm just trying to say that's why I can't recommend building General Skywalker, is that I find it really hard for players to be able to do justice to these characters, because I'm not saying you need to take them to their required levels for the Galactic Legends that they're needed at, but even to think that if you have these, just 15 characters right here, 15 characters alone, you take these guys all to just gear 12, right? Just gear 12. That's a lot of gear. that you put out. And sure, you might have saved relics, but that's a lot of gear invested that you could have used to bolster your way to a galactic legend to improve the amount of resources you're getting, and then kind of circle back and get more of this stuff, right? So I think for General Skywalker, right, you're going to build these things, and then you kind of get General Grievous here. And what you can do with General Grievous, this is something I'd love to tell you, right? With General Grievous, you don't need to get these guys to crazy levels right away. I was using like gear 8, 9, 10, droids for a while with my General Grievous. Just place it on defense, right, and let people try and figure it out. And I was getting consistent holds back in the day. Now, with the Wampas, Savage, right, there's a lot more counters to General Grievous. But a high relic General Grievous, if not dealt with properly, will still get you holds. He 1000% will. And if I'm being completely honest here, you can do really, really good with lower gear droids, a high General Grievous, even on like offense, right? Because you're not going to get great banners, but you'll be able to beat some of those teams. This is one of my favorite GAC offense teams right now. I've used them to beat a lot of really good things because they're you can control them really, really well, right? There's a lot of control on this team. But yeah, I'd recommend that you kind of build General Grievous, get these guys, and then slowly work on them, whether it's in the background or after something else. And then the last character you're going to end up building here is Asajj, right? She offers no synergy with these characters. It's just thematic. She offers no synergy whatsoever. It's actually kind of depressing that she's the one that leads them. So I had her at Relic 2. That was a huge mistake. I didn't need her at that level. Now, I have gotten uses out of her because she's a Relic character, but you don't need her that high to get through this. I would have put those relics, at the time, I had a Gear 12 Magna Guard. I would have put those relics on Magna Guard instead. And if I'm looking at these characters with where they're at, this is definitely where I would invest the gear if I had to do it again. That I'd Relic Magna Guard, I'd have a Relic B1, and then these guys are okay down here. Droideca's the most important character for the event, but I feel B1 and IG and Magna Guard are far better characters, so I like to have them at Relic levels instead of the other two. Again, that's just one man's personal opinion. But I really, this is, as you guys can kind of see, you're kind of building this in stages. I don't know that I can recommend you build all of this all at once, because it's a lot, right? You're looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then 17, right? That's 17 characters total. That's not counting the ships that you need to build, right? And that's counting some pilots in here between Jedi Knight, Anakin, Ahsoka, Rex, Fives. You're building up some stuff there. I really think that if you want to invest relics in these things, you can't do it all at once. You're basically taking on a galactic legend farm at that point. And if that's something you want to commit to, you're more than welcome to do that. I just think General Skywalker, he's still very good, and I think he holds value, but I think if you tried to do all of these things with the relic levels and the proper gear and stuff right all at once, I feel you'd end up setting your account back more than if you kind of piecemealed it. Because if you do this in between, maybe you get your, if you're following the farming guide, right, you get Jabba, you go build your Padme team, right, you build them, okay, now I'm going to go and do the next thing in the farming guide, and then, oh, you know what, I'm going to build the 5 first, okay, now I'm going to build General Grievous and the droids, and then maybe throw Asajj in there at some point, just kind of working on them in chunks, I think, is better, and build up your roster to the point that, you can get to, the way to think about it, right? And this is maybe a huge strength of mine, and we'll talk about this, but that you can pivot quickly. That, if you're in the farming guide and you're like, okay, you know what? We've gotten our Jabba here, right? Now I'm going to build, Padme or whatever, right? And then I'm going to go do the next thing, and then the next thing. And, you kind of find these little places where you can increase your character's gears without having to worry about necessarily, hurting yourself, right? So yeah, hopefully you guys see the value in what I'm trying to say. I just don't know that I really think I should have fixed this in the farming guide, that I don't know that I would be doing all of these gears all at once, because I think you'd just end up farming him for a very long period of time. And I think you'd better serve your roster if you kind of did this slowly over time in between certain things, bolstering your roster each time. And that way you're continuing to work on that height and that width. Because if you just did this, right, if you just built all these things all at once, you just made your roster a lot wider, and then you gained a little bit of height with General Skywalker. But if you build Padme, and then maybe you get your Jabba, you build Padme, then you go and, build something else, right? Maybe Jedi Master Luke, and then you build a 501st, right? That you're kind of building height, you're getting width, height, width, you're kind of keeping your roster together. So yeah, guys, let me know if that makes sense. Hopefully hopefully I don't get taken out behind the shed and treated like a horse that can't run anymore. But yeah, like and subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see you on the next video. May the Force be with you guys. Cheers.